Hi, I'm Nicolia, and today we're going to be building a tree farm that can be used to farm a majority of wood types, and can even produce all of its own bone meal when in nether tree mode. This farm is actually an upgraded version of Ianxofour's design, and I highly recommend checking out his video after, as it explains the core mechanics that allows this farm to work so efficiently for such a broad range of tree types. My design improves on the original, at the cost of some simplicity, by widening and improving the efficiency of the water collection system, as well as adding this iron bar and chain here to ensure the player is always able to place down saplings. I also upgraded the storage system so that the farm auto filters and auto composts the drops it gets, so if you run it in nether tree mode, then it will produce and recycle its bone meal without any player interaction. A world download and schematic for this farm and Ian's original video can be found in the description below, or on the Huge Fungi Huggers Discord server, where you can also find a plethora of other nether tree farm designs. The rates of this farm match that of other designs, which are significantly more complicated, and due to the nature of an on-the-spot blast chamber, you're able to farm azalea, spruce, birch, acacia, jungle, and huge fungi all with just this one machine. You'll need to configure the farm depending on what tree type you want to harvest. For jungle and nether trees, you need to flip this lever up. For all other tree types, you can keep it flicked down, and only when in jungle mode, you'll need to climb up the nudger and turn off the lever. You'll also want to change out the nylium block with dirt if you want to farm oak, spruce, birch, acacia, or jungle. To configure the item filters, come down to this platform and simply swap out the first slot of items for half a stack of logs or stems. And for the third filter, set it to either shroomlights or sticks to ensure that any non-compostable items don't get sent upwards and clog up the composting system. Additionally, shutting the trapdoor down like this puts the farm into auto composting mode, where all the wall blocks will be sent upwards to be converted into bone meal. Only shut this trapdoor if you've properly set up the item filters to filter out all the non-compostable items that this farm produces. To run the farm, first flick this lever at the bottom and then climb up the scaffolding. Here, you'll want to switch off both levers if you're harvesting huge fungi, or just switch off the left lever for other tree types. Then, stand precisely in the center of this chain, pressed all the way up against it, and face the nylium or dirt in a way that allows you to both plant and bone meal saplings. To AFK at the farm, press F3 and T whilst holding right click, and then release when you get to the loading screen. Now your player will use the farm without you even touching your mouse. To start, let's build a 15 by 14 block long rectangle with the longest side running north to south. You can check the direction you're facing by opening up the F3 menu. Also, I'm using a mod to display both my coordinates and the current direction I'm facing, so you can use that and the world download as a reference in case you get stuck. Then place a block at each corner of the rectangle and put water on top. And it should make this pattern here. Now head to the east center block and pillar up by 3 and bridge over like this. Then place fence gates on the edges of each block you just bridged out on. Don't forget to place fence gates on the underside of these blocks too, as these gates are here to prevent water from spilling into the collection system below and messing up everything. Now we can place in our target planting blocks, either warped or crimson nylium for the block below this trapdoor, and either nylium or dirt for the top block that the player actually plants on. Then place this iron bar against the sign and pillar up one block on top of it so you can place an obsidian diagonally to it. This obsidian block could also be waterlogged mangrove roots, but it cannot be waterlogged leaves as the leaves will eventually decay. Finally, open up all of these fence gates so items don't get stuck on top of them. Here's the farm from 2 different angles to see what it should currently look like. Now we want to finish off this bottom section, so dig out all the grass blocks with no water on top of them, as well as replacing the easternmost grass block with an upside down stair. Then dig 2 blocks down directly below the stair and another 3 blocks forwards before mining straight up. You'll know you've dug out the right spot when you break cobble and water flows in like this. Now place 2 signs, a soul sand beneath the water and another water source below the stair to complete this underground section of the farm. Then, after placing 2 blocks here, come down to the center again and break the 4 westernmost dirt blocks on the edge so water flows down perfectly like this. Now let's work on making the redstone clock that controls the dropping of TNT. First, place 2 torches either side of the lever like this, and then 3 redstone repeaters all set to 4 redstone ticks of delay going up the middle. Follow this with 2 redstone dust placed at the end, and turn around to place 2 final repeaters, one with 3 ticks of delay, and the one on the left with the default 1 tick of delay. Finally, place in this lever here to switch between the 2 TNT dropping modes. Now, to take a signal from this clock, we're going to be using a scaffolding tower, which uses the toggling of a trapdoor to propagate a signal up a column of scaffolding. But before we get to building that, let's dig out a small space for our storage system. Here you want to place down 6 chests in the corner of this hole like so, followed by 10 more chests on top of the grass here. Then come back over to the hole and attach hoppers on top of the chests. Follow this up with some solid blocks to help support some redstone components, which will eventually turn into item filters. After placing in 2 redstone dust on the left, attach 3 more hoppers as well as additional solid blocks and redstone dust to complete these 2 item filters. Then, swivel around to the other side and build the 3rd and final item filter, as well as attaching 5 more hoppers for the extra chests we placed down earlier. Then, finish off this layer of the storage system with some slabs and soul sand placed precisely like so. Starting in this corner on top of the hopper, build up and out by 1, making a border. The previous trapdoor and grindstone just help to align the items. And then this sign prevents the water from flowing away. Next, place a stair against this trapdoor and 3 more hoppers placed so they face sideways into a block. And lastly, just waterlog both the stair and trapdoor. Place 4 scaffolding over the trapdoor and then pillar up blocks around the hole you made earlier where water flowed in. And use kelp to create a bubble column like so. Next, cap off the top with a waterlogged slab and create walls for the water to flow between using a sign and additional blocks. Add a trapdoor which will act as a switch to toggle between composting excess blocks and storing all the items the farm makes, and then place down an extra 2 water sources to finish off the storage system. Now it's time to make the part of the farm that provides the player with infinite bonemeal and saplings. Place down 2 wooden pressure plates with one being a block higher than the other, and surround them with blocks and a trapdoor to ensure that the items dispensed from the dropper can only be collected by the player and don't end up falling into the collection system. Attach a set of hoppers and chests to the dropper to provide extra storage space for excess bonemeal and saplings. Now place a chain in between the 2 levers and bridge back 2 blocks so you can place an iron bar and chain like so. These both prevent leaves and warp blocks from growing in front of the player, which prevent them from placing down and growing saplings. Next, climb up on top of the dropper to add in the additional chests and redstone for turning the droppers on and off. To convert warp blocks and excess saplings back into bone meal, we're going to need this array of composters to compost everything. To help reduce lag a bit, I like to set the redstone dust to being just a dot, but this isn't required. Now, come back down to these signs next to the soul sand bubble column and pillar up an additional 6 blocks before adding a top layer with a slab and blocks on the edge to channel the water across all the hoppers. Place an additional cobblestone stair and 2 grindstones to help align the items. And of course, don't forget to waterlog the slab and convert all the below water to water sources with kelp to complete the bubble column. Tower up an additional 35 scaffolding. To count this, make a stack of 35 items in your hand and keep placing upwards until you run out. Then when you reach the top, build out another 5 scaffolding horizontally. Here we can place a line of 7 blocks with an observer facing into an adjacent block like this. Add a trapdoor and additional observer like so, and then run a line of redstone to a piston attached to the end of it, facing into the scaffolding. Finally, add a lever which will be used to toggle this nodger circuit on and off. Starting on the 3rd scaffolding from the observer, place down a slab which will be used to prevent phantoms from spawning above the player. Then move over 2 blocks and pillar up another 7 scaffolding. Start by placing a block 1 below the top scaffolding and then bridging over an extra 6 blocks and place a last block at the end. Then place another block with a redstone dust in between with an observer looking at the scaffolding powering a piston. Chuck in one last observer and the TNT block next, as well as the last piston this farm uses facing into the TNT. Finally, surround the dupe with blocks as shown and extend the line of dust over the top, making sure you waterlog this slab here so the TNT duper doesn't explode itself when you turn off the farm. A world download and schematic for the tree farm and additional fungus farm can be found below in the description. Just as importantly though, you can also find information about the farm such as production rates, notes and corrections, as well as links to Ian's and the Huge Fungi Huggers Discord where there's plenty of people that are willing to help you out with any issues you may come across whilst building and running the farm. A big thank you to Ian for coming up with the original design for this farm and all the members on his server who provided feedback on it throughout the design process. Thanks a lot for watching and have a great day.